What is good, internet? It is Spirit of Paradox here, and welcome back to another video. Today we are finally going to start Ultimate Spider-Man, and we begin with the Venom Saga. But before we start, I just want to say two things. Thank you so much for all of the support I've got on my previous Ultimate Spider-Man video on the resurrection of Peter Parker. That is officially my biggest video on my channel, and it has gained over 50,000 views. I just want to say thank you so much for the support, and really does show not a lot of people knew about the resurrection of Ultimate Peter Parker. And for last, if you guys are fans of the Ultimate Universe and not just Ultimate Spider-Man, yes, I see you people out there, this is the channel you want to be on. I'm going to be uploading content surrounding the Ultimate Universe as a lead up to the upcoming event coming this June 21st of Ultimate Invasion. And I'm also going to be covering that on the channel as well. But enough talk. Let's start Ultimate Spider-Man, the Venom Saga. We begin with Peter Parker, who's just been dumped by Mary Jane. As he's feeling down, he's going through an internal monologue and how he explains how he feels he screwed the situation up. He goes through it a moment and then thinks about calling Mary Jane, and then he decides not to. And in his frustration, he throws his phone towards a wall. In his frustration, he calls himself stupid because now Mary Jane can't contact him and he can't contact her. As he's trying to find the remaining pieces, he sees a doorway and he moves a box that seems to be in the way of it, and he opens the door and looks down the corridor. Peter opens the door up further, and then he sees a room full of boxes and old trinkets with the name Parker on them. He takes one of the boxes outside of the room and then he opens it, and then he sees all of these old tapes and photos and documents. He takes a bunch of photos and he looks at them, and then Peter has a moment of shock. And then we find out those old pictures that Peter's looking at were of him with his dad and his family. We see one with him and his father, we see another picture with his mum and his father with another scientist. And then we see Peter take one of the videotapes. Peter quickly walks upstairs, and then he sees Gwen Stacy and Aunt May, and Aunt May is baking cookies. Peter tries to walk past as quickly as possible, but Aunt May asks, "Oh, hi Peter, we're making cookies, you want to?" And then Peter says, "I'm okay, thanks." And then Aunt May's like, "Peter?" Gwen says, "Geez, bad breakup?" May would respond with, "They'll work it out, Gwen. Mary Jane and he are two peas in a..." The buzz at school is that it was historic. I should say something to him. Like what? And then Aunt May just looks sad. Peter puts the old videotape in the cassette player, and he is greeted to see old footage of him as a younger boy, with his family and friends. We see a young Peter Parker get a frisbee thrown in the back of his head, and then we see his mother come to his aid asking him if he's alright, and he says he's fine, mummy. And then the older Peter Parker says mum, and then we see Aunt May in the back of the room watching. Aunt May makes her presence known when she says Ben, as they see the whole videotape of everyone together. Uncle Ben, your young Aunt May and Peter Parker, his parents as well, and even some friends, having a picnic in the park. As both of them are watching the TV, May asks Peter, "Where did you find this?" "I found it in a box in the basement with some stuff." And then she would tell him, "It's yours." And then he would ask, "What is?" "All that stuff. It all belongs to you. Those boxes, it's your dad's things and my sister's things. It's all yours. Ben and I put it away for you when you were old enough, and I guess you're old enough." Peter asks, "Are you okay?" And Aunt May tells him, "I just didn't expect to see Ben today like that. It all snuck up on me is all. I'll be okay in a second." And then Peter says, "So, who were all those other people in the tape? And then she says, the Brocks. You remember Eddie Brock? He was your dad's partner. And then he would say, yeah, sure, I sort of remember that. I just didn't remember hanging out with them. May says, oh sure, all the time. You and Eddie Jr. played together every day for years. He was your best friend. And then Peter's like, man, I don't remember that at all. And then she tells him, well, you were just a little boy. I remember playing with someone. Eddie Brock. Sure, you two were always building forts out of blankets, cardboard boxes, used to drive your mother nuts. Peter asks, where'd he go? And Aunt May says, when your parents died, he moved away to his grandparents, I think. His parents died too? In the same plane as yours. Just went down in the storm. Then we see Peter and Aunt May have a moment of silence together to really show like these families have really been struck in with loss, and it really does show here in this book. Aunt May suggests to Peter that he goes out and finds Eddie Brock, and then Peter would come up with the idea of sending him a copy of the tape, and Aunt May would tell him that would be a very nice thing to do. Peter goes on the computer to see if he could find the location of Eddie Brock, and he has quite a lot of success. He finds Eddie Brock's location and phone number, and he decides to give him a call. They both get to know each other over the phone by explaining what their livelihoods are like their employment and their studies. As this is all going down, they both finally come to the conclusion that they should meet up. But when this happens, we see in the background of Peter's room some of the files in a box, and then it hints towards the Venom Project. In the next page, Peter goes to Eddie Brock's college while he's having an inner monologue, and he says, oh man, I can't wait to get to college. Look at this college. People is making important life decisions, self-discovery, and whoa, check her out. Oh my god. Is this how these people live? How did he get any work done? And ew, what's that smell? The entire place smells like a whoa, check her out. Peter manages to find Eddie's dorm room, and as Eddie greets him, he says, hey, there he is. Look at you, you're all growed up. Welcome to higher education. Eddie shows Peter his room, and he says, well, it's not much, but, you know, it's not much. And his bedroom looks as bad as mine. Eddie's roommate would come out and say, little young for you, ain't he, Brock? And then they both have that awkward stare, and Peter's asking, who is that? And Brock's just like, oh, such an god. That's the short end of the dorm room stick. And his roommate would say, right back at ya. And Brock says, let's go out and get coffee. Coffee? We see Peter Parker and Eddie at a coffee table, and they're both talking about their assignments. Astrophysics. So now I'm the bioengineering program. And Peter says, really? That's wow. That's going to be my major too. And then Eddie would respond with, wow, aren't the two pieces of work? And Peter asks, what do you mean? Two little ghost chasers, me and you, trying to impress our daddies. And then Peter says, well, I read some of my dad's papers and I really believe in his work. Eddie says, no, I do too. I mean, at first. I'm sure I was trying to. I don't know how to relive my dad's something, right? But I really do believe in what they were doing because, let me tell you, if I didn't, bio is a crap load of reading to be into it for the wrong reason. And Peter says, yeah, I know. And Eddie tells him, no, you don't. No one prepares you for this workload. They assign us with 3 chapters a night, 100 pages a day. Plus you have to have at least one job, because books alone are a fortune. And this city pretty much guarantees you aren't going to be able to afford taking a girl out on a proper date unless you're one of those Wall Street guys. And who wants to be one of those? You got like a girlfriend or something? Peter says, I did. And Eddie would ask, did? As Peter looks sad. Eddie asks him, come on, what happened? As Peter is getting emotional, he says, we broke up and it just happened. And I don't think it's sunk in yet, but the thing is, she's my best friend, and I can't believe Eddie says, man, high school. Let me tell you something I wish to God someone would have said to me. All this stuff you're feeling, this girl, that girl, this, 5 years from now, not 50, not 100, 5 years from now, you won't even remember her name. Swear to God. Well, that didn't happen at all. This stuff, it's so important to you now. Oh, the drama. But let me tell you, thing is, it only hurts as much now because you don't have anything to compare it to. It's all just training wheels, man. It all fades away. When real life starts, you'll know it. Trust me. See, I know you think full of it, but it's true. Peter says, I guess. And then Eddie would interrupt him and said, if I could go back to high school, man, I would have played it way differently. Like, I would have just sat back and not tried so hard. But man, look at you. This is so off the scale weird. You're from like a lifetime ago, and here you are, as we see Peter Parker smile. I think back then, sometimes it's hard to even picture my mum's face, you know? Sometimes it takes a while. And then Peter says, yeah. I look at the pictures and I go, okay, that's them. But sometimes I worry that I'm not remembering them right. It's hard to explain, and I'm doing it badly. And then we see Peter hand him over a tape and he asks, what's that? It's a video of your parents. It's all of us at a picnic, and it's the reason why I looked you up. I'd thought you'd want a copy. And then Eddie smiles and says, wow. As Peter smiles, Eddie says to him, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me. And Peter says, well, you know what, Eddie says? I have something to show you. In the next page we go to night, outside of the Reed Richards Science Center, and we see Eddie and Peter go inside a laboratory, and Peter says, oh yeah, Eddie says, because that's not what I wanted to show you. This is what I want to show you. This is something. As he opens a little hatchet and Peter Parker looks inside, and then we see a glass vial containing the ultimate Venom symbiote. Peter asks Eddie, what is that? And right before the issue ends, Eddie says, it's our inheritance. And that was issue 33 of Ultimate Spider-Man, or part 1 of the Venom Saga. And I can't lie, folks, this issue was pretty boring because there was no action, but it was pretty much to set up the story of the Venom Saga. But, and another thing, I was a bit reluctant in covering Ultimate Spider-Man on the channel, simply because it's the most covered thing in the Ultimate Universe, and I can't lie, I know there's people who just like Ultimate Spider-Man than the actual universe he is from, but I'm still not going to stop covering it nonetheless. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below when it comes down to Ultimate Spider-Man, and how do you guys feel about my audio quality, because I'm still testing that, still changing things to see how I can get the mastering right. But thank you very much for watching. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. I'm going to be covering more Ultimate Universe stuff and Spider-Man. Take care.